Tasha never helps me with anything. I raised her alone, and now she acts like I don't exist. My mother's voice carried clearly through the church fellowship hall. I stood frozen behind the partition wall, holding 2 cups of coffee I'd gone to get for us. She was talking to her friend Brenda, the same woman who'd watched me grow up, who knew exactly how much I'd sacrificed for my mother over the years. "That's terrible, Gloria," Brenda said sympathetically. "After everything you did for her." "I'm struggling to pay rent, and she won't even return my calls. I don't know what I did to deserve such an ungrateful daughter." My hands started shaking. The coffee sloshed dangerously close to the rim of the cups. I'd just paid her rent last week. The same rent I'd been paying for 3 years while she told everyone she was managing fine on her own. But apparently that wasn't enough. She needed sympathy more than she needed the truth. "My name is Tasha Winters, and I'm 28 years old. I work as a project manager for a construction company in Dallas, a job I'd worked incredibly hard to get after putting myself through college while supporting my mother. Growing up, it had always been just the 2 of us. My father left when I was 5, and Mom raised me on her salon assistant salary. Money was tight, but we managed, or so I thought. As I got older, I realized Mom had a habit of exaggerating our struggles to get sympathy and help from church members and friends. She'd tell people we couldn't afford food while our pantry was full. She'd claim she was behind on bills when everything was paid. I used to think it was just her way of coping with the stress of being a single mother. Now, standing behind that partition wall, I realized it had become something else entirely. A pattern, a performance. And I was her current villain. I walked away without giving her the coffee. My hands were shaking too badly anyway. I'd probably spill it all over her, and she'd add that to her list of complaints about me. I left the church through the side door and sat in my car for 20 minutes, trying to calm down. My phone showed 3 transfers to my mother in the past month alone. Rent, utilities, and groceries. Nearly $3,000 total. Money I'd sent without her even asking because I knew she needed it. Her salon had cut her hours after the new management took over. She was 62 and struggling to keep up with the younger stylists they'd hired. So I helped. I'd been helping for years. But apparently she needed to pretend I wasn't, that I was some terrible daughter who'd abandoned her. Why? What did she gain from these lies except sympathy from people who didn't know the truth? When I got home to my apartment, I pulled up my banking app and looked at the transfer history. 5 years of regular payments to Gloria Winters. Rent, car repairs, medical bills, insurance, groceries, utilities. The numbers added up to over $80,000. $80,000 I'd sent while working my way up from assistant project manager to my current position. Money I'd saved by living in a modest apartment instead of buying my own house. Money I'd set aside from bonuses and overtime. I'd done it gladly because she was my mother and I loved her. But she was telling people I'd abandoned her, that I refused to help, that I didn't care about her struggles. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected. I'd sacrificed so much to make sure she was comfortable, and she was using my generosity as material for her victim narrative. My phone rang. Mom's name appeared on the screen. I almost didn't answer. "Baby," Mom said when I picked up. Her voice was warm, affectionate, nothing like the bitter tone she'd used talking about me at church. "I missed you at fellowship today. Where did you go?" "I had to leave early, work emergency." The lie came easily. "Oh, that's too bad. Brenda was asking about you." I bet she was. "Listen, honey, I hate to ask, but my car is making a weird noise. I think it needs to go to the mechanic. Could you help me out with that? How much do you need?" "Maybe 500. "I'm not sure what's wrong with it yet. I'll transfer it tomorrow." "You're such a good daughter, Tasha. I don't know what I'd do without you." The words should have made me feel good. Instead, they felt hollow, empty. Less than 3 hours ago, she'd been telling Brenda I never helped her. Now she was calling me a good daughter because I'd agreed to pay for her car repairs. Which version was the truth, or were both performances depending on her audience? I didn't sleep well that night. My mind kept replaying Mom's words at church, the ease with which she'd lied about me, the sympathy she'd gathered from Brenda. By morning, I'd made a decision. I was tired of being the secret benefactor while Mom played the struggling single mother abandoned by her ungrateful child. If she wanted to pretend I didn't help her, fine. But I was done enabling her lies. I called my financial advisor, Kenneth, a man I'd worked with for 3 years to build my investment portfolio. "Kenneth, I need to make a major purchase. What's my current position?" "You're in good shape, Tasha. Your savings and investments are strong. What are you thinking?" "I want to buy a house, not for me, for my mother. But I have specific conditions about how this needs to be handled." "I'm listening." I explained what I wanted to do. Kenneth was quiet for a moment, then said, "That's generous but complicated. Let me connect you with a real estate attorney." By the end of the week, I'd met with both Kenneth and a real estate attorney named Mr. Pierce. Together, we'd developed a plan. I would purchase a house in a nice neighborhood on the north side of Dallas. The deed would be in my mother's name, giving her full legal ownership. However, the purchase would be documented thoroughly with a gift letter and legal paperwork showing I'd bought it for her. "Why not just buy it in your name and let her live there?" Mr. Pierce asked. "Because I want her to own it. I want her to have real security, but I also want proof of what I've done, documented and undeniable." Mr. Pierce nodded slowly. "This is about more than just buying a house. It's about the truth," I replied. We started looking at properties immediately. I had a budget of $250,000, enough to buy a comfortable 3-bedroom house in a safe neighborhood, something Mom could live in for the rest of her life without worrying about rent or landlords. Finding the right house took 3 weeks. We looked at 12 properties before I found the perfect one. A 3-bedroom ranch-style home with a large backyard and a covered porch. It was in a quiet neighborhood with tree-lined streets and friendly neighbors. The kind of place Mom had always dreamed about but never thought she could afford. The house needed some cosmetic updates, which actually worked in my favor. My company had connections with contractors and I could get the work done at cost. Fresh paint, new flooring, updated appliances. I could make it beautiful for her. "This is the one," I told my real estate agent, Cynthia. "Let's make an offer." The sellers accepted our offer within 2 days. We closed 3 weeks later. The entire process moved quickly, almost like it was meant to happen. I kept the purchase completely secret from my mother. She had no idea I was buying her a house. She just kept calling every few weeks asking for money for various expenses, which I continued to provide. While the house was in escrow, I hired contractors to do the renovation work. New paint throughout in soft, warm colors. Luxury vinyl flooring that looked like hardwood but was more durable. Updated kitchen appliances, including the fancy refrigerator Mom had always wanted. New light fixtures and ceiling fans. A renovated master bathroom with a walk-in shower. I oversaw every detail personally, visiting the property after work and on weekends. My project management skills came in handy as I coordinated contractors, managed timelines, and stayed within budget. The transformation took 6 weeks. When it was finished, the house looked like something from a home magazine. Beautiful, comfortable, and completely paid for. I'd even furnished it with basics. A new bedroom set, a couch, a dining table. Everything Mom would need to move in immediately. The final touch was hiring a professional photographer to document everything. I wanted pictures of the house, the deed with her name on it, and the closing documents. Evidence. During those 6 weeks of renovation, Mom called me 4 times asking for money. Utility bills, car insurance, groceries, and rent. I sent every payment without complaint, even though I was spending tens of thousands on the house she didn't know about. Each time she called, I wondered if she was still telling people I never helped her, if she was still playing the victim to her church friends while I funded her entire life. My coworker, Jerome, noticed I was distracted during meetings. "Okay, Tasha, you seem stressed. Family stuff, it's complicated. Anything I can help with? Not unless you know how to deal with a parent who lies about you to make themselves look better." Jerome winced. "That's rough. My aunt does something similar, makes up stories about how her kids treat her badly when they actually bend over backwards to help her. Why do people do that? Sympathy, I guess. Or maybe they really believe their own stories after a while. Either way, it's not fair to you." The house was ready by mid-October. Everything was perfect. The furniture was arranged, the utilities were connected in Mom's name, and the deed was officially recorded with the county showing Gloria Winters as the legal owner. I'd spent nearly $270,000 total, including renovations and furnishings. It was worth every penny. Now came the hard part, figuring out how to reveal it. I didn't want to just tell Mom I'd bought her a house. That felt too simple, too easy for her to dismiss or minimize. I wanted her friends to see it. I wanted the people she'd been lying to about me to witness the truth. I wanted undeniable proof that I hadn't abandoned her, that I'd been supporting her all along, and that I'd just given her the biggest gift of her life. The idea came to me during church service that Sunday. Mom's birthday was in 3 weeks. She'd be turning 63. What if I threw her a surprise birthday party at the new house? I started planning immediately. I made a list of everyone Mom was close to, her church friends, her coworkers from the salon, her sister Pauline, and a few neighbors from her apartment building. I created a group text with everyone except Mom, explaining I wanted to throw her a surprise birthday party. I've bought my mother a house for her birthday, and I'd like to reveal it to her with all of you there. Please join us for a celebration at her new home. The responses came quickly. Most people were excited and supportive, but a few responses gave me pause. Brenda, Mom's close friend from church, wrote, "That's wonderful. I didn't know you two were on better terms. Your mother mentioned you'd been distant lately." I stared at that message for a long moment. Distant. Mom had been telling people we were distant while I paid her bills and bought her a house. My Aunt Pauline called me directly. "Tasha, honey, what's this about a house? Your mama told me last month she might have to move because she couldn't afford rent anymore." "Aunt Pauline, I've been paying Mom's rent for 3 years," I said calmly, "along with most of her other bills." Silence. "What?" "I send her money every month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month. I've been supporting her financially for years. But she told me you barely spoke anymore, that you were too busy with your career to help her." My jaw tightened. "That's not true. I've sent her over $80,000 in the past 5 years, and now I've bought her a house, completely paid for in her name." Aunt Pauline was quiet for a moment. "Why would she lie about that?" "I don't know, but I'm tired of being portrayed as a bad daughter when I've sacrificed so much to help her." "This party is going to be very interesting," Aunt Pauline said slowly. "Gloria has a lot of explaining to do." The party was scheduled for Saturday afternoon, 2 days before Mom's actual birthday. I told her I wanted to take her to lunch to celebrate, which she'd happily agreed to. The morning of the party, I woke up with nervous energy. Everything was arranged. The caterer would arrive at noon to set up food. Decorations were already at the house, waiting to be hung. Guests would arrive at 1 o'clock. I was picking up Mom at 1:30, telling her we were going to lunch but actually bringing her to the house. I spent the morning double-checking every detail. The house looked perfect. The yard was maintained, the porch was decorated with fall flowers, and a large "Happy Birthday Gloria" banner hung across the front of the house. Inside, the dining room table was set for 30 people. The living room had comfortable seating arranged for conversation. Photos of Mom throughout her life were displayed on the mantel, pictures I'd gathered from her apartment over the past few weeks. At 12:30, guests started arriving. I greeted each one at the door, watching their reactions as they took in the beautiful house. "Tasha, this is gorgeous," Brenda said, looking around with wide eyes. "You bought this for your mother?" "Yes, completely paid off, it's hers." Brenda's expression shifted, something like shame crossing her face. She remembered what Mom had told her, what Mom had been telling everyone. By 1:15, almost everyone had arrived. 30 people filled the house, talking quietly and admiring the space. I could hear whispered conversations about how generous this was, how beautiful the house was, how Gloria must be so proud of me. At 1:20, I got in my car and drove to Mom's apartment. My hands were steady on the steering wheel. I'd practiced what I was going to say, but I still felt nervous. This was it, the moment of truth. Mom was waiting outside her apartment building when I arrived, dressed nicely in a purple dress I'd bought her last Christmas. "Ready for lunch, baby?" she asked, climbing into the passenger seat. "Actually, I have a surprise first, something I want to show you." "Oh, what kind of surprise?" "You'll see." I drove toward the new house, taking the familiar route through North Dallas. Mom chatted about her week, talking about drama at the salon and upcoming church events. She had no idea what was coming. When I turned onto the street where the house was located, Mom looked around appreciatively. "This is a nice neighborhood. Are we meeting someone here?" "Something like that." I pulled into the driveway of the house. Mom looked confused. "Whose house is this?" "Yours." She turned to stare at me. "What?" "This is your house, Mom. I bought it for you for your birthday." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I got out of the car and walked around to open her door. "Come on, everyone's waiting inside." "Everyone, Tasha, what's going on?" I took her hand and led her up the porch steps. The front door opened before we reached it, and Aunt Pauline stood there smiling. "Happy birthday, Gloria." The living room erupted in shouts of surprise. As we walked inside, Mom stopped in the doorway, her hand flying to her mouth. 30 people stood in her new living room, smiling and clapping. Her friends from church, her coworkers, her family, all of them in the house I'd bought for her. Mom started crying immediately. I don't understand, this is my house. Yes, I said clearly, making sure everyone could hear. I bought it for you, it's completely paid off. The deed is in your name, it's yours forever. Brenda stepped forward, hugging Mom tightly. Tasha is amazing, Gloria, what an incredible gift. Other people crowded around, offering congratulations and admiration. Mom kept crying, overwhelmed by the surprise. I watched the scene unfold, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. This should have been a purely happy moment, but it was also a reckoning. I caught Aunt Pauline's eye across the room. She gave me a small nod of understanding. After about 10 minutes of celebration, I raised my voice slightly. Can I have everyone's attention for a moment? The room quieted down. Mom looked at me with red, tear-streaked eyes. I took a deep breath. I want to explain why I did this, and why I wanted you all here to witness it. For the past 5 years, I've been supporting my mother financially, I began. I've paid her rent, her utilities, her car repairs, her insurance, and her groceries. I've sent her over $80,000 during that time. I saw shock register on several faces, people who clearly hadn't known this. I did it gladly because I love her and I wanted her to be comfortable. But recently, I discovered that despite all this support, my mother has been telling people I don't help her. That I've abandoned her. That I'm an ungrateful daughter who refuses to assist her. The room went completely silent. Mom's face had gone pale. I overheard her telling someone at church that she was struggling to pay rent and I wouldn't even return her calls. This was the same week I'd paid her rent and sent her grocery money. Several people looked at Mom now, confusion and disappointment on their faces. So I decided to do something that couldn't be denied or dismissed. I bought her this house. It's in her name, completely paid for. She owns it free and clear. I pulled out a folder I'd prepared and held it up. I have all the documentation right here. The deed, the closing papers, the bank transfers showing my payments over the years. I'm not saying this to embarrass anyone. I'm saying it because I'm tired of being portrayed as something I'm not. Mom had started crying again, but these tears looked different. Ashamed, maybe. Aunt Pauline spoke up. Gloria, why would you tell people Tasha wasn't helping you when she clearly was? Mom shook her head, unable to speak. Brenda looked uncomfortable. Gloria, you told me just last month that Tasha never called you anymore, that she was too busy with her career to care about you. I was paying her bills while she said that, I added quietly. The weight of Mom's lies hung heavy in the room. Some people looked angry, others disappointed. A few looked sympathetic, perhaps understanding that Mom's behavior came from some deeper insecurity or need for attention. Finally, Mom found her voice. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, Tasha. The party continued, but the atmosphere had shifted. People were kind to Mom, but clearly processing what they'd learned. Some pulled me aside to apologize for believing her stories. Others thanked me for being such a devoted daughter despite the circumstances. Brenda approached me in the kitchen where I was helping set out food. Tasha, I owe you an apology. I believed what your mother told me without questioning it. I should have known better. It's not your fault, she was convincing. Still, I feel terrible. You've been nothing but generous, and I thought poorly of you based on lies. I appreciate that, Brenda. Really. Later, I found Mom sitting alone in the master bedroom, looking around at the space I'd created for her. I sat down beside her on the bed. Why, Mom? Why did you lie about me? She was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. Maybe because it felt like I'd lost control of my life. I couldn't provide for myself anymore. I needed your help, and that made me feel weak. So you made yourself the victim and me the villain? I asked, trying to keep my voice gentle despite my hurt. It wasn't conscious at first. I'd mentioned to someone that money was tight and they'd assume you weren't helping. I didn't correct them because their sympathy felt good. It made me feel less ashamed about needing help. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Then it became a habit, a story I told myself and others, that I was managing alone, struggling but independent. Admitting you were supporting me meant admitting I'd failed. You didn't fail, Mom. Life got hard, your hours were cut. That's not failure, that's circumstances. But I raised you by myself. I was supposed to be the strong one. Having to depend on you felt like I'd reversed our roles, and I hated it. I understood, even though it still hurt. I never minded helping you. I minded being lied about. I know. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. She looked around the beautiful bedroom. And now you've given me this incredible gift, more than I deserve. You deserve security and comfort, Mom. You deserve a home you don't have to worry about losing. That's That's why I did this. We sat together for a few more minutes before rejoining the party. The afternoon continued with food, laughter, and celebration. By the time guests started leaving around 5 o'clock, the atmosphere felt lighter. People hugged Mom goodbye, genuinely happy for her new home. After everyone left, it was just Mom, Aunt Pauline, and me sitting in the living room. "This is really mine?" Mom asked, still seeming dazed. "Really mine. Completely yours," I confirmed. "I'll show you all the paperwork, the deed, the property tax information, everything." Aunt Pauline smiled. "Tasha, you're one remarkable young woman. Your mama raised you right, even if she lost her way for a while." I helped Mom start moving her essential items from the apartment that evening. Over the next week, we'd transfer everything else, but tonight she wanted to sleep in her new house. In her own home. Before I left, I found her standing in the kitchen, running her hands along the new granite countertops. "Thank you, baby," she said softly, "for everything, not just the house." "You're welcome, Mom." Over the following weeks, Mom settled into her new home. She invited neighbors over for coffee. She joined a garden club. She seemed happier, lighter somehow. She also made an effort to be honest with people. When someone complimented her house, she told them the truth. Her daughter had bought it for her because she'd been helping financially for years. The lies stopped. One Sunday after church, Brenda approached me. "Your mother has been different lately. More genuine, I think." The party was hard for her, but maybe it was what she needed. "Maybe it was what we both needed," I replied. The truth was out now. No more secrets, no more lies. Mom owned a beautiful house, and everyone knew I'd given it to her. My sacrifice was acknowledged. My love was visible. A month after the party, Mom called me crying. "What's wrong?" I asked, immediately worried. "Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to tell you that I love you, and I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry it took me so long to say it publicly." Those words meant more than she probably knew. We started having dinner together every Sunday, a new tradition in her new house. She'd cook, and we'd sit on the back porch talking about our weeks. The relationship between us had changed. It was more honest now, more equal. She stopped asking me for money, which I found interesting. "I'm managing better now without rent," she explained. "And I picked up some extra clients at the salon. I feel more independent." That independence was good for both of us. I could help her because I wanted to, not because she desperately needed it. And she could accept my help without the shame that had driven her to lie. My coworkers noticed the change in me too. "You seem happier lately," Jerome observed during a project meeting. "Things better with your mom?" "Much better. We worked through some stuff. Turns out honesty really does help." 6 months after I bought the house, Mom threw a dinner party and invited me, Aunt Pauline, Brenda, and a few other close friends. After dinner, she stood up to make a speech. "I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And I want to thank my daughter, Tasha, for giving me this beautiful home and for loving me even when I didn't deserve it." She continued, "I made mistakes. I lied about Tasha to make myself feel better about my situation. I portrayed her as an ungrateful daughter when she was actually sacrificing so much to help me. I'm ashamed of that, and I've apologized to her privately. But I want you all to know publicly that Tasha is the best daughter anyone could ask for." There were tears, hugs, and more appreciation than I knew what to do with. As I drove home that night, I reflected on everything that had happened. The hurt of discovering Mom's lies, the decision to buy her a house, the party that exposed the truth, the healing that followed. It hadn't been easy, but it had been necessary. Sometimes love means holding people accountable. Sometimes generosity means making your sacrifices visible, not for praise, but for truth. And sometimes the best gift you can give someone isn't just a house, but the opportunity to be honest about who they are and who you've been to them all along. Mom's friends saw the house I bought in her name, yes, but more importantly, they saw the truth. And that truth had set both of us free.